Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to Skåne in southern Sweden once again, and this is another one of the little breweries that have popped up recently over there. And although I say recently, they were founded back in 2015, it's only recently that their beers have actually made it into Systembolaget, so I thought I should review one of them for you here on the channel. So for this one we're going to go just out to Flyinge, which is a little bit to the northeast of Lund, where I'm going to be returning to in August, and we're having a taste of my first beer from Pax Brygghus. So this one is their Citra Pale Ale. It comes in at 5.8%, and you know, it should be pretty nice. Citra, of course, is one of my favourite hops, so here's hoping this is a pretty good beer. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, of course, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that hopefully I can do in the future from Pax Brygghus. Very first time I'm trying one of their beers, of course. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city or state, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers I've reviewed for you, and that's constantly being added to. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated, and I do love introducing you guys to these kind of new upcoming Swedish breweries as well. I like doing that with the Scottish breweries when I go home as well. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Pax Brygghus then. So Pax Brygghus, as I mentioned to you before, are based in Flyinge. Apologies if I'm pronouncing that wrong, which is a little bit out to the northeast of Lund in Skåne in southern Sweden. I'm guessing it's maybe about 30 or so kilometres to the northeast, but the brewery was started back in 2015, and it's owned by husband and wife team Kalle and Marika Swöström, who named it after their cat actually. They found a cat on the way to their holiday home and took him home with them, and they weren't sure if it was a boy or a girl, so they decided to call it Pax, because apparently that's quite a unisex name. I've never heard of the name right enough, but probably because I'm not Swedish. But both of these guys come from an engineering background, so they had a little bit of technical know-how when it came to actually setting up the brewery, and they say that their main aim is really to be able to open up a craft beer pub in Flyinge and serve their own beers and other local beers as well, and they have had some success in that. From what I gather, they have opened up a little kind of pub on certain nights of the week. I think they open it up every Saturday if I'm not mistaken. But they have found some success with that, and though they do, from what I gather, want to have a little bit of a kind of permanent venue for it, if you like. So best of luck to them on that. But they said their dream wasn't to actually introduce their beers to Systembolaget, although they have actually done that now. From what I gather, their beers went in there around maybe October, November of 2017. I'd never seen them before, and I was last there in August it was, if I'm remembering correctly, and I saw them this time when I was over in February, so I thought pick it up and have a go at it. But some of the local ICA stores out near Hör and Eslöv and all of these kind of places have some of their beers as well. They do have a couple of folksulas that you can get there. Of course, the rule in Sweden is that anything above 3.5% can't be purchased can't be purchased in the supermarket. That then has to go to Systembolaget. But right at the moment, they're looking to expand their brewing capacity themselves, or to contract brew a little bit, according to the article that I read. So the best of luck to them. I think they've got about 5 or 6 different core range beers at the moment. There was a few pale ales in there, there was an IPA, I think there was a dark beer in there as well, and they also had 2 beers that they brought out for Christmas too. But I think most of their beers are only available in kind of restaurants and bars and things like that, but they are working to add more to Systembolaget. But this was the only one I think that I saw apart in the Systembolaget. It was Salihan that I got in. There might well have been one of their winter beers there. I've got a feeling that I saw like a Saison or something like that from these guys, but I went for the Citra because I love the hop, and it should be an interesting beer, so why not? So yeah, that's all you really need to know about the brewery just now. Have a look at their website in the description below, and you can have a little look at their Facebook page and stuff and keep up to date with what's going on. When I looked at it, they did seem to be quite active on their Facebook page, so that's probably a really good place to keep an eye on them. They were going around and doing lots of different beer tastings and introducing people to their beer and things like that, so keep an eye on that if you want to see what's going on with this brewery. So yeah, I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork of this one before we open up. There's Pax the cat on this one, quite distinctive there, and that was really what made it catch my eye, was the fact that the thing had a cat on it. You can see plain bottle cap on this one. It tells you a little bit about the beer on the back, so it says here, Pax Citra är en frisk IPA med tydliga toner av citrus och tropisk frukt från den amerikanska hopsorten with the same name. So yeah, it's basically a fresh IPA with, I'm not sure what tydliga is, but maybe prominent tones of citrus and tropical fruit from the American hop sort of the same name. It's got a relative late malt base, yeah, gives a fresh, yeah, a relatively light malt base gives a fresh taste. I'm not sure what that is, with a forward kind of bitterness maybe. We made this beer with summer in mind, but we envisioned that this beer should work all year round. And it tells you a little bit about the brewery as well, about their cat as well. In May 2014 we found a cat called Pax on the way to our holiday home, and a year later we founded Pax Brygghus, inspired by cats, but a beer that we think should be made for everyone in mind. So something like that. Yeah, my Swedish can't really read it that fast. I'm sure I could translate it a little bit better, but yeah, nice looking beer this one. So without further ado, let's get it out and into the glass then. I'm actually surprised how much I understood of that, but should be quite an interesting beer this one. And as I always say, it is cool to introduce you guys who are watching both in Sweden and further afield to some of these new Swedish breweries. There's quite a bit of carbonation coming out of that one. We'll just let it settle for the moment and put the rest in a little bit later. That's kind of unusual for a pale ale actually. Maybe I've been shaking it around a little bit or something like that. But yeah, as you can see, this beer's poured a nice kind of almost somewhere between blood orange and kind of coppery colour, I would say. That's a nice blood orange, coppery kind of coloured beer. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, quite a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of that head there. That head, incidentally, is about 3 fingers. I'd say it's kind of a creamy colour, but that may well just be because of the depth of it. If I hold it up to the light, there's 1 or 2 wee little bits of sediment kind of floating around in the beer, but other than that, it looks pretty much as you'd expect. It's maybe a little bit darker than you'd normally expect for a pale ale, and I do wonder, maybe they've done a slightly longer boil on that or something, because usually when you do a bit of a longer boil, that's when you start to get some of the darker colours. It could be the malt base right enough, it could just be what type of malts they've used. Maybe they've used some caramel malts or something like this, but this colour does look a little bit more like a kind of regular IPA than a pale ale, because obviously the pale ales have less malt in them than the IPAs do, but the colour doesn't matter so much, it's more about whether it tastes good. But let's have a closer look at the aroma then before we get on with this one. Ooh. Yeah. So this one does actually smell, it does have a good little bit of a malty backbone to it. There's a little bit of a kind of biscuity and bready quality to it, which might explain the colour. If there's a little bit of caramel or something in there, that would explain why the colour is a little bit darker. But yeah, some nice bready notes in there, a little bit of a kind of biscuity quality to it as well. It's got almost, it reminds me of these kind of digestive biscuits. I'm not sure if you get those in Sweden, but those McVitie's digestive biscuits that we have in Scotland, it really kind of smells a little bit like that. It's definitely got a little bit of that biscuity kind of, almost corn syrupy kind of note to it, but there's a bit of sweeter caramel in there like I'm saying, and you can pick up a little bit of the bready quality as well. So yeah, a bit of bready notes like I'm saying. On the fruity side of things, you can smell a little bit of a floral and kind of grassy note to it. There's a wee bit of mango, I think, that's coming out from the Citra hops in this one. You can get the mangoes, but the thing that's actually picking my nose on this one is the gooseberry. I think Citra can sometimes give you gooseberry, but really these little tropical fruit complexities that you can get from the hop, it does tend to depend on what malts and things you're actually using in the beer. And for me, the gooseberry of this one's coming out quite a little bit. There's a little bit of a lychee note in there as well, you can pick that up, but I think the gooseberries are quite prominent in this beer. A little bit of mango in the background there, but the gooseberries are really mixing kind of interestingly with that kind of bready sort of malt base that they've got going on. So yeah, it smells really interesting. As I always say, take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma a little bit of the beer before you get stuck in. But this is the Citra Pale Ale from Pax Brygghus in Flyinge, just a little bit to the northeast of Lund in Skåne in southern Sweden. Let's get stuck into this beer. Slange, skål. Yeah. I have to say, no, that's pretty good. I will say that about this beer. In terms of the pale ales that I've been drinking recently, it's got quite a bit of a different feel to it, to be honest with you. It's got the hoppy bitterness that you expect from an American pale ale. That's obvious with this beer right away. The malt base though is a little bit different. There's a lot of breweries these days that are just kind of, you know, putting like in a straight paleo malt base, maybe a little bit of biscuit or something like that with their beers. And to be honest, I find that a little bit boring. You can get so much out of a beer if it's got a good bit of a malty backbone to it. And that seems to be the kind of angle that these guys are trying to take on a little bit. This beer does have a little bit of complexity in the malt base, so in that regard, I do quite like what they're going for here. Yeah, it's nice. It's a good beer, that. You know, for a brewery that's been in existence, what, about 2 and a bit years, that's a solid beer to come out with. That's a really good one, I would say, to enter into Systembolaget with. They've done a nice job of this, and the thing, as I say, that stands out to me with this one is the fact that the malt base has a little bit more to it than simply just pale malt. I do like that. I mean, with this beer, it's got a nice bit of a bready presence to it. They're saying that it's a relatively light malt base on the label of this one. To be honest, I'd maybe pull them up on that a little bit, just in my experience, because this malt base is a little bit heavier than a number of the paleos that I've tried recently, but you know, it works. It does work. In comparison to some other paleos that I've had recently, this malt base is a little bit heavier, but it actually does really well for the beer in that case. I wouldn't say this is a light malt base, but that's, you know, that's by the by. The main point is whether it's a good beer or not, and they've done a good job with this, I would say. Yeah, I like how this one goes together. What I would say about this beer is that it's one where it's more about how the flavours blend together rather than being really punchy in any one regard. You know, with a Citra, when you would read the label, you'd maybe think a little bit with Citra, you know, this beer is going to be really forward with the kind of mango flavours, the lychees, gooseberries kind of things that you can get out of this. And in some ways it is. It's got a nice little bit of that hoppy bitterness, but the malt base comes up and just gives you a really nice backbone as well. As I say, I like this beer. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this one again. I'd love to have a little go at it on tap and things like that, so I might need to go out and visit their pub at some point. But yeah, they've done a good job of this, so if you see this beer about, I think it's quite rare to find it at the moment, but if you see it around, have a go at it and see what you think. It's a good beer to have a go at. So yeah, with this one then, you can feel a little bit of that lighter malt just go right across the middle of your tongue. Like I was saying though, there's a little bit of a slightly kind of thicker, bready quality to this one. You can feel that just sitting on top of the middle of your palate. If you go down the middle of your tongue, there is a bit of a caramelly flavour in there, and perhaps if you come a little bit further forward, it's almost a little bit more light and biscuity. I do suspect they've added some like caramel malt or carapils, or I don't know if it'd be crystal or something like that, or it might even be American Turo. There's definitely some sort of malt in this that gives you these caramel flavours, and that's why this beer is as dark as it is, I'm pretty sure. But it works, as I say, the malty backbone that this beer has really works for it, and I do like breweries that can pull off beers like that with a good backbone. So as I say, a thumbs up to Pax Brygghus on this one. They've done a nice job with it. And I would say in that regard, in terms of, you know, real ale, English real ale, and American sort of craft beers, this beer is almost somewhere in the middle. Like, it has a little bit of that slightly sweeter, kind of bready, malty backbone that you'd expect from the American beers. But in terms of mouthfeel and stuff, it does remind me a little bit more of the English real ales. Like, I'm not such a great fan of the English real ales, if you like. The mouthfeel is the one thing that I actually do quite like about them. When it comes to English bitters and stuff, I'm not such a fan because I can find them quite boring. This one's got the American malt base and the American kind of hoppiness to it, but it's got a little bit of that kind of English mouthfeel, and that's one of the things about those beers that I do like, and it suits it really well with this malt base. I would say it has a little bit of carbonation to it, but the smoothness and the slightly oily character that the mouthfeel has really suits that malt base that they've put in there. But yeah, on the hoppy side of things then, I would say maybe in the back corners of the palate there's a tiny little bit of earthiness. It's quite a sweet earthiness, it's not too bitter, and you can feel the sort of slightly bready, grainy notes just building a bridge. If you look at the back of the back corners of your palate and then the bit where the hops start to come out, you can feel a little bit of a bridge being built there. As you come further forward along the sides of your tongue, that earthiness just kind of smooths out and you start to get some of the sort of floral, aromatic-y parts from the hops, and then round the very front curve of the tongue, you get a little bit of a kind of lighter and sort of grassier feel to this beer, which is quite interesting. If you just go behind the front curve of the palate, of course, that's where you get this little oily bubble, where those nice kind of fruity esters start to come out of the beer. And as I say with this, it comes out really nicely. With this one, you can definitely get those nice mango-y notes that you expect from Citra, and as the flavour progresses on, you start to get a little bit of the lychee, and I think the gooseberries are kind of prominent in this one for me. You can, as I say, when you mix the hops with different malts and things, you can sometimes get different fruits, and for me it's the gooseberry notes, I think, that are coming out of this one quite nicely. So mango and gooseberry, I think, are the main sort of fruits that you're getting out of this beer. But it's nice, this. I would drink this again. Definitely would. And it is cool to see that there's little local breweries. As far as I know, I think it was saying on their in the article I was reading, they were wanting to upgrade their capacity to around 200,000 litres of beer per year, something like that. So it would be interesting to see how they go, but on the basis of this beer, you know, I don't think they're going to have any problems kind of selling their beer and things like that. This is a really good beer, and I'm sure when they experiment and things a little bit more, they're going to produce some really, really good things. So hopefully I can try some of their other ones and see how they're getting on. But in terms of a pale ale, this one, it's really quite interesting. As I say, the malt base in this one is a little bit heavier than you might expect for a pale ale, but breweries that can pull that off tend to do quite well, and I think these guys will fit into that category. I like that sort of caramel biscuity feel that this beer has. It really suits it. In terms of the mouthfeel then, I'd say mid-bodied definitely. Carbonation is quite smooth. It does have a little bit of a prickle, but overall it's quite smooth. Yeah. Quite a smooth carbonation, this beer. A little bit of an oily quality to it, I do like that, and again that suits the sort of caramel biscuity backbone that the beer has in the malt base. Good little bit of hoppy bitterness to it. The malt base has a good bit of smoothness to it, but it does lean a little bit towards the sweeter side of things, and then it goes back to being quite smooth with the bready and sort of slightly grainy notes in the beer as well. As you progress further into the aftertaste with this one, you do start to get a little bit more of a graininess from it. And then you've got a nice little bit of fruity character as well. But overall, like I said, it's a really nice beer. And the thing that makes it stand out to me is the fact that they've gone for a slightly kind of sweeter and kind of breadier malt base. It really does suit the beer. And it's nice to see something that's a little bit different. As I say, many breweries are just going for a straight, a kind of flat paleo malt base or pale malt base when it comes to this style of beer, but it's good to see that somebody's kind of doing something a little bit different. So well done to Pax Brygghus for that. And on the basis of this, I would definitely want to try some of their other beers. And it's really interesting. It's good to see that there are more little breweries popping up around Skåne. So I think these guys have got quite a bright future ahead of them, so we'll see how it goes, and hopefully I can review more of their beers for you on the channel at some point in the future. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Check out my social media, and have a look at Pax Brygghus' website, and have a look at their Facebook page and stuff like that. Like I said, they're quite active on there. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from them as well, if you've tried more than one. And as always, thank you for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. The Citra Pale Ale from Pax Brygghus in Flyinge, just up a little bit to the northeast of Lund in Skåne in southern Sweden. Make sure you have a go at this one, because the malt base is really quite interesting on this one. I've not come across a pale ale like this in quite a wee while. Stanza just now, I'll catch you guys very soon. Skål.